And welcome back. So it is our live, lights, camera, action Tuesday night broadcast. And tonight we are going to be talking about three common mistakes that I see parents making, and 3 things you can do to raise healthy kids. It really seems like in the past couple weeks, I have gotten, oh my goodness, so many questions about kids and things they can do for their kids and how they can help their kids not. Anyway, it seems like on a weekly basis, that has been my most asked question over these past couple weeks. And so I wanted to go ahead and make that our video we did live here tonight. So whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the recording, hi. If you have not hit the red subscribe button, make sure to do that. Give the video a big old fat thumbs up. And make sure to ring the bell. That way you don't miss any weight loss tips, any fit tips, or any of our yummy, delicious, low-calorie recipes. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump in. So I want to talk about things that I personally, I grew up, and I did not grow up in the most health conscious home. I grew up in a home where, my mother was overweight. She was never taught about nutrition. And unfortunately, you can't teach what you don't know. And so she didn't teach me because she wasn't taught and she didn't know. And so at the end of the day, there was a lot of these things that I grew up not knowing. And it was after struggling as an overweight person, it was after seeing the heavy burden that it had been on me, that it was like, you know what? I don't want my kids to have to suffer through that. And prior to that, I had been a weight loss failure for more than a decade. And I didn't want to be overweight, but I was. I didn't want to be morbidly obese, but I was. And so it was finally after having our second child, she popped out of the womb, and I was reading a parenting magazine one night, and I read a statistic. And that statistic shattered everything. It linked obesity and parents to their kids. And it basically stated that if you were in a household where both parents are overweight, which my kids were, they were 400% more likely to become overweight. And in that moment, I just said enough is enough. And I drew a line in the sand, and with every fear, every hope, every doubt, every prayer, I got started again, thinking that I probably would fail, but knowing that I would persist as long as it took. And so with that being said, I've been very conscious on how we raise our kids, because on one side, it's having your kids worship their body. It's having your kids, I've seen parents where they're like, oh, you need to lose weight. You need to lay off the junk food. You got a belly on you. You're getting kind of pudgy, poking at their stomach. I've seen parents that shame their kids, who talk to their kids about, you need to lose weight. We need to get your belly down. Your clothes are too tight. Nothing fits you. And then I've seen parents go the complete other way and ignore it altogether. They know their children are overweight, but they don't do anything about it. And, look, parenting is hard. When we have kids, nobody gives us a manual and says, here you go, here's how you do it. We really kind of just all do the very best that we can and hope for the best. But there are some things that you can do, because I don't think either one is the answer. I think the answer is somewhere in the middle. And so these 3 tips that I'm going to give you tonight, these 3 strategies, these 3 things to do and not to do, they're kind of one in the same, if you will really help you if you have an overweight child, or because here's the deal. A lot of times, my brother and I grew up in the same home. I was overweight. He wasn't, but we both were equipped with the same habits. He just had a faster metabolism all the way up to 20 years old. But eventually, though, his metabolism slowed, and those habits caused him to be overweight, just like I was. And so even if you have kids that aren't overweight, their habits will determine their habits will help or hurt them. That's what I will say. Their habits will help them or hurt them when it gets time to be an adult. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive in. Number 1, and this is probably the biggest one. The biggest one is I see parents using food as a reward. And when you use so many times, people that are overweight, we have an emotional attachment to food. When we do good, we want a cookie, we want a brownie. When we're gonna celebrate, we want to go out to eat, we want to go get ice cream. And so many times that starts from when we're little. It starts at the dinner table. If you finish your dinner, you get dessert. If you don't finish, you don't get nothing. It's creating a reward or a discipline or a takeaway for something. Oh my gosh, you guys won the game. Let's go get ice cream. Hey, like, you got all A's. Let's go celebrate with pizza. Or you were bad. You can't have any chocolate. You can't have any snacks. You can't have. So often we use food as a reward, and we also use it as a consequence. And what that does with our kids is it's teaching them to cope and to rely and to celebrate and to have all these emotions that are tied to food. Have you ever wondered, gosh, why when something good happens, do I want ice cream? Why when something good happens, do I want chocolate? Why when I'm having a bad day, do I want, all this stuff? It's because we have tied these emotions around food, and it has created a dependency on that. And so we have a habit of emotional eating. And look, as parents, I have to fight against this one all the time. It is a conscious effort that no, if I'm going to reward my kids, it's not going to be with food. It's going to be with spending time together or doing an activity together. But I'm very careful to not reward with food. What we will do sometimes is we will cook together. We create memories with food, but I don't tie emotions to it. Does that make sense? So we have for birthdays, they get to pick their meal, but it's not like, don't you want all the bad stuff? They get to pick whatever they want. And to be honest with you, a lot of the times, like my son before has one of his birthday meals a couple years back was grilled chicken, broccoli, and rice. I was like, okay, whatever. And even, so I could talk really the whole entire time on this one thing. So again, when you're looking to reward your kids, reward them with stuff other than food. When you're looking to have a consequence, do it with something other than food. All right, that's going to take us to the second one, which is making our kids finish all their dinner before they left the table. As a child, I can remember there were certain times where we would sit down and we would eat, and we were forced to finish every single thing on our plate. And in my, young teenage years, I found a workaround for the system. I would put some food in my napkin, wad it up in a napkin and put it under my arm, and then go throw it in the woods. My mom probably just heard that for the first time. Sorry, Mom. Anyway. I'm not saying being dishonest, but here was the deal. My husband, who was made to eat all the food on his plate, learned a habit to eat past the feeling of full, to eat when he wasn't hungry. And even it took a very long time. And even to this day, he struggles with it of when we go out to eat, even when he's full, he pushes past and finishes everything on his plate. And then even when we started having kids, he would finish everything on their plates. He would finish everything on my plate because he had been programmed, he had been taught that he was bad or wasteful. He had this habit developed to finish every single thing on his plate. And okay, that is, again, it is when we give our kids, first we form our habits and then our habits form us. And that goes for all of us. And so with our kids, we can't control their actions when they get to be adults. But what we can do is we can give them a foundation with good habits when it comes to food. And when we give them a foundation, and you know that as a parent you did your best, then when they get to be an adult, they're responsible. But at least you know you did your best to give them a good foundation and you equipped them with good habits versus just saying, well, it is what it is. My child's overweight, nothing I can do about it. In my household, if my kids start to develop a weight issue, that is my fault. Why? Because I buy the groceries. I prepare the meals. I'm in charge of what comes in this house and what comes out of this house. And so as a mother, that is my responsibility because I'm the one that prepares the food and does the grocery shopping. And to think anything other would just be me being naive. And so the approach we chose to take when it came to eating at the dinner table was, look, you can stop whenever you're full. When you're full, stop eating. And if they still have food left on their plate, that food then goes into a container in the refrigerator. And the next time they're hungry, that is what they eat, which means there's no snack. They eat nothing else until their dinner is gone. They eat nothing else till their breakfast is gone. They eat nothing else. We do this with all 3 meals. If they're eating oatmeal for breakfast and they're full, and I give them not a large portion, I give them a portion. I give them what they should be eating. But if they get full, they get full. That's okay. Do you know what it's like? Some days you're really hungry and some days you're not. Some days you take a couple bites and other days you feel like you could eat a cow. So it's the same thing. Like, we all have different levels of hunger, right? And so whatever meal it is, whatever they don't eat, just goes into a container, goes in the refrigerator. And it's okay, no big deal. You're full. They're not like, oh, you can't. We don't make them feel guilty that they can't eat anymore. It's not, oh, you can't eat anymore. Well, you can't leave the table. Take a couple more bites. No, there's no guilting. There's no pressuring. It's okay, great. They know to go put it in the refrigerator, and they know that when they get hungry, and sometimes, like, especially at dinner time, my son will get done and he'll be, hey mom, can I have some of this or some of that? And I'll say, you got your dinner. Did you finish? Actually, what I'll say is, did you finish your dinner? And he'll say, oh no, I forgot. And he'll go warm his dinner up. And when he was younger, we started this from like little. We started this because, again, my whole goal is to set them up with a foundation, set them up with habits that are going to help form them so that they don't have to struggle with this thing that I struggled with my whole life, which was being overweight, the heavy burden of that. And so it's a really simple solution and it works great. We don't have to make them feel guilty. They know when to stop. And look, they now know when they're full, stop eating. They know, and it's so, like, we will be on vacation or driving. And when we're driving, I always make up my kids like a little lunchbox with little different snacks in them. Sometimes it's candy corn, it might be licorice, it might be some potato chips, but it's 3 or 4 little things when we're on a long road trip to kind of keep them like something to look forward to, right? So they'll have 5 or 6 little snacks inside of their thing. Well, I can remember several times, I'll give you an example. Last year, we were driving to visit family, and our kids had some candy corn in a bag, and they were eating the candy corn. And in our household, we're candy corn lovers. Like, it is like delicioso. And so they're eating the candy corn, and in the middle of eating it, they stop, they zip up the bag, and they're like, okay, I'm full. And I looked at my husband, and I just thought, wow. Because they've been taught the habit of stopping when they're full, that it's gonna be there later. There wasn't a consequence. They weren't guilted. They weren't made to feel silly or stupid. They don't have a habit of overstuffing themselves. They stopped eating candy corn. I looked at my husband and I was like, as a child, I never would have done that. Like, I never would have stopped in the middle of eating candy corn and been like, I'm full. I would have kept going and finished it off. And he was like, me too. And so it's so, when you start developing these habits inside of your kids, and then you start seeing that act out in different ways, you start seeing them, and look, my kids, it's just, I want to cover this real quickly. This isn't one of the 3 things, but it's 80-20 in our household. So it's 80 and 20. 80% of the time we eat healthy. 20% of the time, we don't. 20% of the time, it's pizza, it's chocolate, it's candy, it's muffins, it's cupcakes, it's all of those things. And then 80% of the time, we eat chicken and broccoli with a potato or with salad or whatever it is. And so it's not about being deprived, but it's about having balance. And so it's the same thing with my kids. All right, the third thing is making them aware. Making them aware. My kids get on the scale every single week, and they have since they were little. And it wasn't because I told them to. Yeah, and it was because they saw me do it. They've seen their mother have a healthy relationship with the scale. Thank the Lord. I today have a healthy relationship with the scale, because I didn't always. The scale used to be like my nemesis, like enemy numero uno was the scale. And so they would get on the scale, and whatever it said, and because here's the thing, as the mother, as the person who takes care of my kids, it is my job to monitor their weight. And so but here's the thing, if they were to get on the scale and it says, and all of a sudden I'd be like, oh, they popped up 5 pounds. We just got back from vacation. Okay. I would never say, oh, no more junk food. You're 5 pounds up. I just want them to get on the scale. I look at it, it's information that tells me how I'm gonna shop, how I'm gonna cook, because especially for me after vacation, when I pop up 5 pounds, it's like, okay, no chocolate this week, right? And so it's the same thing with my kids. It's my job. I don't have to make them aware of it. They're kids. I don't have to tell them, oh, you're up 5 pounds, no more junk food. I don't even make them aware of their weight. I go, awesome, dude, you weigh 46 pounds, getting so big. The weight, all it is information. They've never witnessed their mom getting on the scale, having a hissy fit, having a temper tantrum. I used to do that. Oh my goodness, if they would have been on this planet 10 years ago, Lord knows what they would have saw. But my point is, they are aware of what their weight is. They're aware of serving sizes. My kids say, Mom, can we have some licorice? Yeah. How much can we have? I don't know, what's a serving? They'll turn it over 4 pieces. Okay, great, 4 pieces. So I'm not telling them what they can have. They have been taught to turn over the back of the packaging and see what a serving is. So they know when they're getting crackers out of the pantry, hey, can I have some crackers? Yep, get a serving. They know a serving is meant to be a serving. So they've been taught this from the time they're little, that where we eat things by the serving. They're not allowed to take the bag of chips into the living room and just start eating out of it. Why? Because I was a morbidly obese woman, and those are morbidly obese habits. And I don't want to equip my kids with morbidly obese habits, even if I have a skinny kid. Because if I give my skinny kid morbidly obese habits, chances are at some point, it's going to catch up with him or her. And so they're aware of serving sizes. We've had conversations, I am fully open and aware with my kids about, my past of being overweight. And in my house, we don't make a big deal. I do not, one word I don't like the word fat. Maybe it's just me. I don't think people are fat. I think you have fat, but I think so often people let that word define them, and I just don't like the word. So in our house, we use the word unhealthy, and I say fluff. Mommy used to be bigger and fluffy. I was unhealthy. I don't even use the word skinny and fat. When we're talking about a person, if somebody's overweight, they're just unhealthy. They're not fat. If somebody is fit and works out and takes care of themselves and they carry a healthy BMI, they're healthy. So it's basically healthy and unhealthy. And I've been completely 100% honest with my kids because they see pictures. And the biggest thing I want my kids to do is learn from my mistakes. I don't want to run from them and have them feel like I'm a hypocrite in life later. No, this is the mistakes mommy did. Learn from them. So they're aware of serving sizes. They're aware that water is really good to drink. My kids get soda, they get juice sometimes, but the main thing they get is water. Making sure that they're just aware. There's nothing wrong with making your kids aware of a serving size. Making sure that you're not giving them high calorie condiment addictions. I can remember in my 20s getting turned on from a girlfriend to ranch dressing, dipping things in ranch dressing. And I went from really not even knowing what that was to all of a sudden being addicted to dipping things in ranch dressing. And then I see kids out at restaurants dipping things in ranch dressing. I see kids demanding mayonnaise on their sandwiches. I see kids demanding cheese on their eggs. And I was one of those kids, I didn't want to eat a vegetable without butter and cheese. I did not want to, I just didn't, ugh. And so as parents, our kids don't pop out of the womb craving mayonnaise, craving cheese, craving butter, any of those things. And so when we start giving them or dipping French fries in ranch dressing or pizza in ranch or everything in ranch, we actually give them those habits. And so again, if you start thinking as a parent about the habits and that everything we do repetitively with our kids becomes a habit. And look, I'm not coming to you from a place of judgment or a place of do this or do that. These are just things that we're conscious of in our home. These are things that I've done that I've found, hey, these happen to work pretty good with my kids and with other kids that I've been around. And again, being a parent isn't easy. I know as a mom or dad, you are out there doing your freaking best. And I give you kudos that you're actually even watching this video, listening to some broad. But it says you're teachable. And it says that you are willing to listen to what somebody else has to say. And Lord knows I'm that way all the time. Like I am always like, okay, what is, like when I have some parents around me that have done well in a certain area, I'm like, okay, what do you do? How do you do it? Like, you know, because it's for us as a parent community to learn from one another and glean from one another. And so when I started getting all these questions about kids and overweight and how to raise healthy kids and what do we do in our house about this and what do we do in our house about that, I just thought, no, it's been a while since we've talked about this here on the channel. So anyway, let me know if you like this kind of stuff or if you want to see more of the kid content, or you like, no, this one was good, thank you. Let's talk about my weight loss now. Anyway, but thank you guys so much for watching, whether you're watching live tonight or the recording, and make sure to check out some of the other content here on the channel, and we will see you on the next one.